Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtigi Mogam Karoti Vachalam Bangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Brahmananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadivas Shakti Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we are continuing our overview of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and today we are moving on to the fifth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So welcome everyone to this wonderful fifth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. As you all know, the first two cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam are considered to be the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And the third and fourth cantos correspond to the Supreme Lord's thighs. The fifth canto corresponds to the navel of the Supreme Lord. So we have moved from the lotus feet to the thighs and the calves, and to the calves and the thighs, and then now we are moving towards the lotus navel of the Supreme Lord. And in this canto, predominantly we will see Visarga. That means secondary creation. That means creation by the sons of Manu. So, as we know, fourth canto discussed about Uttanapada, who is one son of Swayambhu Manu. And fifth canto will discuss predominantly another son of Swayambhu Manu named King Priyavrata and his dynasty Agnidra Nabhi. Rishabhadeva comes in Priyavrata's dynasty. And more importantly, Bharata Maharaja, son of Rishabdev. So he also comes in that dynasty, from whom the name Bharata came. And then also, fifth canto speaks about this wonderful personality called Jada Bharata. That also is discussed. And then the geography of the universe is also discussed in the fifth canto, because Sukadeva Goswami speaks about how King Priyavrata, his chariot, he was riding around the Bhumandala, and the wheels of his chariot created Saptadvipas, the 7 islands. And then Parikshit will ask about, which are those islands, what are their characteristics, like that. So that also structure of Bhumandala, beginning with Jambudvipa and the 9 Varshas and the various mountain ranges, all these things are also discussed in the 5th canto. So that is in a very, what can I say, concise manner what is contained in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are moving on to the beginning of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The very first shloka of the first chapter of the 5th canto, where Parikshit is asking this question, Rajovacha Priyavrato Bhagavata Atma Ramah Katam Mune Grihe Ramata Yanmula Karma Bantha Prabhavaha. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, O great sage, why did King Priyavrata, who was a great self-realized devotee of the Lord, remain in household life, which is the root cause of bondage of karma and which defeats the mission of human life? I just read this shloka to give you a prelude of what is coming in the 5th canto. So 5th canto is beginning with this question Parikshit is asking. Very important question as to why such a great personality like Priyavrata remained in Grihastha life. That was the thing. Okay. So 5th canto, basically, it has 26 chapters. 5th canto has 26 chapters. In that, the first 14 chapters are all about the dynasty of Maharaja Priyavrata. And from 15 to 16 to the 26th chapter is the geography of the universe. So that is 2 parts, 5th canto. First 15 chapters, and then the next rest of the chapters, 10 chapters are 10, 11 chapters are about the geography of Bhumandala. And how does it come? I will also tell you. The first chapter, of course, speaks about Priyavrata and how Priyavrata was situated in the renounced order, and then actually it is Lord Brahma who will ask him to take up the kingdom. And in the second chapter of the 5th canto, we will discuss about King Agnidra, who is the first son of Priyavrata and who became the ruler of the Jambudvipa. And he got 9 sons, and there were 9 Varshas in the Jambudvipa, and his 9 sons ruled the 9 Varshas of Jambudvipa. And the third chapter of the 5th canto speaks about King Nabhi, who is the first son of Agnidra, and he ruled Bharatavarsha. And this King Nabhi, by performing a great sacrifice, he begot Rishabhadeva as his son. And in chapters 4, 5, and 6, discusses about Lord Rishabhadeva, because he is a Shaktiavesh Avatara of the Lord, exhibited exemplary character and begot 100 sons. And he instructed them on various spiritual subject matters. And then finally he adopted Ajagravritti and wandered like an Avadhuta and disappeared in a forest fire. This is who Lord Rishabhadeva. His charitra is described in chapters 4, 5, and 6. And in the 7th and 8th chapters of the 5th canto, it's about King Bharata, who is the first son of Rishabhadeva and who ruled Bharatavarsha. And he worshipped the Lord by performing sacrifices and eventually gave up his kingdom and retired to the forest. And he was staying in Pulhasrama, maintaining austerity, Vanaprastha, and eventually he became a deer in his next life. And chapter 9 to 14, so how important it is. Chapters 9 to 14 is dedicated to Jada Bharata. And it speaks about Jada Bharata, his growing up, and then the most important part in Jada Bharata's appearance is his meeting of King Rahuguna and Jada Bharata giving instructions to Rahuguna. That is, the up to the 14th chapter. In the 15th chapter, there is description about Viraja, Gaya, Pratiha, and Sumati. And from chapter 16 to 19, Jambudvipa is, because as I said, Priyavrata's chariot created the oceans and islands, and Parikshit then asked about those oceans and islands. So 16, 17, 18, 19 chapters are description of Jambudvipa. Then in 16th chapter, there is also description of Ilavrata Varsha, which is the middlemost Varsha of Jambudvipa. And then 16th chapter also contains descriptions of Mount Sumeru, Sumeru Parvata, which is actually the center point of Jambudvipa. And also the 17th chapter, there is description about Ganga Devi, how she is coming from the Karana Samudra through the various planets and to the top of Sumeru Parvata, and from there, how she is coming into 4 branches. All those details are in the 17th chapter. And then in also 17th chapter, there is the wonderful prayers offered by the residents of 9 Varshas of Jambudvipa to their worshipable deities. That is also there. And then in the 20th chapter of the 5th canto describes the Bhumandala, the remaining 6 islands. And then chapter 21 to chapter 26 discusses about the vertical structure of the universe. So this is in a nutshell what the 5th canto is all about. So now you might think that this is yet another technical canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam with a lot of technical information. So those people who are very technically minded and how the universe is structured and what is situated where and how this and how that, all those questions will be answered in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there is some visarga, there is also sthanam, atra sargo visargascha sthanam poshanam utibihi. So sthanam means place. So this, all the places are also half of the canto is for sthanam. So that is in short, because being Purana, we should know, what are the things that are discussed in a Purana. So you have Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Uti, and then Manvantara, Ishanukatha, then also Nirodha, then Mukti, Asraya. So these are the different subject matters that are handled by all Puranas, and Bhagavata Purana especially will handle the Asraya Tattva, as we all know, and all the other 9 subject matters are actually making the 10th subject matter easy to understand. That is the idea of studying. So we must also know, I am studying Srimad Bhagavatam, so why should I know where is Jambudvipa and where is this and where is that, and where is this Parvata that is covered with gold. Anyway, I'm not able to see that, nor am I going to go there and scrape some gold and come home. So we may have all these kind of thoughts as to why, but this is all trying to understand within our limited ability the wonderful creation of the Lord, so that we understand, we get some idea about this Supreme Lord, who is actually doing nothing but grazing the cows, So, but also he is he is not simply grazing cows in Goloka. All these things are also done by his various Shaktis. So, to be able to put in perspective the greatness of God, because Srila Prabhupada always says that everybody says God is great, but we are the ones who explain how great God is. So we must see all these studies as part of trying to understand how great God is, who has got such a system in place and how the system is working and how all the creation is working. So as I said, the first chapter, first shloka begins with Parikshit's question as to, he says, he calls King Priyavrata as a Bhagavata Atma Ramaha. That means he is a Bhagavata and he is an Atma Rama. Naturally, all Mahabhagavatas are Atma Ramas. That means they are satisfied within themselves. And Parikshit is asking a very important, very pertinent question. Very nice question, very relevant question for all of us. Asking, he was Atma Rama, he is a Bhagavata. How did he come down to this level of Grihastha life? And Parikshit is explaining Grihastha life as the root cause of bondage of karma and that which defeats the mission of human life. This is not somebody's allegation. This is spoken by King Parikshit. Meaning, generally, this Grihasthasrama means if you are not focused, it will defeat the purpose of life. Why? Because in Grihasthasrama, there is a lot of scope for sense gratification. And therefore, in Kali Yuga, all ashramas are dangerous. So, no need to be overly worried that I am in Grihasthasrama. Kali Yuga is like a dense forest. So, any asrama person will always be in some kind of danger or the other. So, but anyway, Parikshit's damning statement, about Grihasthasrama is in this shloka. And Srila Prabhupada says that it is very pertinent, very relevant as to Parikshit addressing Priyavrata, meaning accepting or acknowledging King Priyavrata as a self-realized person. Okay? And how can a self-realized person like King Priyavrata come down and enjoy family life? So another thing is that self-realized persons don't enjoy family life. If you put it the other way, persons who are in family life don't have self-realization. Correct? No? So that is Parikshit's question. That is the beginning of this chapter. Parikshit continues. He is justifying his question by saying that Mukta Sanghas, devotees like him who are free from material attachments, cannot possibly be absorbed in family affairs. Then, and Parikshit is further justifying his statement by saying, Mahatam khalu viprasre uttama shlokapa adayo chaya nivritta chittanam na kutumbe spruhamati. Mahatam khalu viprarshe uttama shloka padayo. That is, elevated Mahatmas who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Uttama Shloka. Chaya nivritta chittanam na kutumbe sprahamati. Those who have taken, those self-realized persons who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord are automatically satisfied. That means what? Nothing else can attract them. And Grihasthasrama means what? Attraction. Grihasthasrama means that you are attracted to things in the material world. That is why you have Griha. Otherwise, you will be Grihatyaga, no? So, and then he is asking, how is it possible for him to achieve infallible perfection in Krishna consciousness? Krishna cha matir achyuta, despite being attached to wife, home, and children. So here, this question gives all the Grihasthas hope. First, he begins by condemning Grihastha life. Next, he says, this person is self-realized. Then he says, this person enjoyed family life. And then how could he get infallible perfection in Krishna consciousness? So another way of Parikshit saying that somebody like Priyavrata has shown that they can be in family life and in spite of being in family life can achieve infallible perfection in Krishna consciousness. So Shukadeva Goswami replies, Shukadeva Goswami says, your words are true, but a devotee who is attached to the nectarian honey of the Lord's lotus feet, Srimad Charanaravinda Makaranda Rasa, is the word used by Shukadeva Goswami. Srimad Charanaravinda Makaranda Rasa. That means Makaranda. Makaranda means what? Honey. So, Charana Aravinda Makaranda Rasa. The taste of the honey of the lotus feet of the Lord. Somebody who has got it, whose mind is absorbed in his glories, which are pleasing to the devotees. Two qualifications Sukadeva Goswami is giving. One is the devotee who is attached to the nectarian honey of the Lord's lotus feet. Next, devotee whose mind is absorbed in his glories, which are pleasing to the devotees. Aveshida Chetaso Bhagavata Paramahamsa Daita Katham. So, if these two things are there, Sukadeva Goswami says, which are the two things? Attached to the honey of the lotus feet of the Lord and mind absorbed in the glories of the Lord. Such a person never gives up the exalted position he has acquired, despite being checked by some impediments. So that's a very interesting statement. Very encouraging statement. So Parikshit's question is answered by Shukadeva Goswami by saying, yes, impediments are there. Impediments will come. But if you attach yourself to that lotus feet of the Lord and taste that nectar, and then you also have attachment to the glories of the Lord. You see, this is why the acharyas are always giving these things as very important for all practicing devotees. By constantly hearing about the glories of the Lord. That is why this Katha Shravanam is of utmost importance. Because, as we normally say, everybody is prone to some hero worship or the other. Correct? We are all, intrinsically, we are all hero worshippers. That is why, in this materially conditioned state, we have become external hero worshippers. We worship some external heroes. Correct? Intrinsically, the Atma is a hero worshipper. And who is this hero? Supreme Lord. In my original state, I am a hero worshipper of the only one hero. But when I come to the material world, that tendency is there. No, I have to worship some hero. And in the material world, I am materially conditioned. I have forgotten the real hero. So I will worship all false heroes. I will worship all false heroes. So here, Shukadeva Goswami is saying that one who is remembering and one who is attached, they can. And he says, there's a very important thing to note here, that in bhakti, there will be, due to karma, due to kala, there will be obstacles. Okay. And those obstacles are actually not impeding the bhakti. That means those obstacles that are due to karma and kala, they are not the ones impeding the bhakti. Then what is impeding bhakti? One thing is that offending Vaishnavas. Offending Vaishnavas will impede bhakti. And it can be removed by the mercy of a Vaishnava. So offending can impede, and our mercy of a Vaishnava can get rid of it. The example given is in this fifth canto itself, we will find King Rahuguna. He will offend Jadabharata. But Jadabharata will not take offense, and he will forgive, and he will give him knowledge. And the one who does not repent for his offense and gets punished, example given is that Dvivida in the 10th canto, where we find that monkey, Dvivida. And also, sometimes obstacles in bhakti are presenting themselves because of the Lord's desire. Because of the Lord's desire. And Bharata Maharaja, his becoming a deer is actually attributed to Lord's desire, because the Lord wanted to show that through an example that if you get attached, in spite of all detachments, if you are attached even to one small thing, it will cause a failure. So to give us an example, the Lord, through King Bharata, made him a deer, then made him Jada Bharata, and eventually liberated him. Correct. So, 2 points we note here is that King Bharata got liberated, but it took him 3 janmas. 3. Why? First janma failed, second janma deer, from second janma to third janma, after deer Jada Bharata. Third janma he got liberated. Lord's arrangement. Lord's arrangement, so that when we study the history of King Bharata, we understand that not have any attachment. And also in Priyavrata's case also. In Priyavrata's case also, the Lord is making an example that nothing will impede your bhakti provided you are very faithfully fulfilling the orders. As the chapter goes, we will see how that becomes manifest. But to put it very short, Priyavrata, he was actually engaged in tapas. Uttanapada was ruling, no? After that dynasty came down. Priyavrata is still in tapas only. And because there was no proper ruler for the world, then Brahma is going and convincing Priyavrata. And at that time, Priyavrata listened to Brahma and came. Not because he wanted kingdom and no. See, another thing is that, you see, how he accepted his responsibility that was handed over to him by a superior. So that's also a very important thing. It is not that always it is my liberation, this is the only thing that matters. When some responsibility is handed over, that also should be attended to. That is the example of Priyavrata. Priyavrata saw at the lotus feet of Narada Muni and thus attained transcendental knowledge and always engaged in Krishna Katha. His father Swayambhu Manu then asked him to take charge of ruling the world, for he possessed all the good qualities for ruling. Although such an order could not be refused, Priyavrata did not welcome it. Being absorbed in Bhakti Yoga and engaging all his senses in the Lord's service, he considered that it may divert him from devotional service. Now, where is this situation coming from? We know Swayambhu Manu's son Uttanapada, and then from Uttanapada all the way up to Prachetas, we have seen in 4th canto. right? And Prachetas' son Daksha, the second birth Daksha. After the Prachetas left, Daksha went to perform austerities. So at that time, Swayambhu Manu called back Priyavrata. So that is how the Priyavrata and his descendants ruled until the end of the 5th Manvantara. At the beginning of the 6th Manvantara, Daksha gave up austerities and he became king. Okay. So a little bit of history lesson also is involved in this as to how these things are happening. So now, Swayambhu Manu could not convince Priyavrata. So now who is coming? Lord Brahma is coming personally to convince Priyavrata. Then Brahma, who acts for the welfare of the entire universe and knows the purpose of the creation, descended from Satyaloka, accompanied by his associates and the personified Vedas. Worshipped along the way by the chief demigods and praised by groups of Siddhas, Gandharvas, Sadhyas, Charanas, and sages, he approached Priyavrata at the border of Gandhamadhana hill. Seeing his swan carrier, Narada realized that Brahma, his father, had arrived. He immediately stood up along with Swayambhu Manu and Priyavrata and began to worship Brahma with great respect. So already Brahma, when he is arriving, Narada Muni is also there, Swayambhu Manu is also there. Narada, Manu and Priyavrata presented offerings and praised him according to Vedic etiquette in highly qualified language. Then Lord Brahma, smiling and looking at Priyavrata with compassion, spoke. So here, two things to be noted. Brahma has come. What is Brahma's idea of coming? Brahma's idea of coming is that a man who is properly engaged in activities of self-realization, Brahma's current requirement is that to make him pause what he's doing, not stop, note it, to pause what he's doing and do something else, right? So, Brahma, being very compassionate, is thinking that because I have interrupted his bhakti, jnana, and vairagya, let his bhakti increase even in his grahastha life. And then Brahma is smiling. The acharyas are saying that Brahma's smile means that smile is telling Priyavrata that you are stubborn that you will refuse the kingdom. And I am stubborn that I will make you rule the kingdom. You know, because after all, who is Priyavrata? Priyavrata is the grandson of Brahma. No? Swayambhu Manu is Brahma's son. Priyavrata is Swayambhu Manu's son. So is also they have this relationship of grandfather and grandson. Okay, so understand that ultimately it's all within the family. So of course, family is this is the really highly placed family when we say no. This is a highly placed, highest placed family in the entire creation. In this Brahmanda, they are the highest placed family. So in between the family, within the family, they are making some adjustment basically. That is what is going on. And then Brahma says to Priyavrata, kindly hear attentively the truth I am speaking. Do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord, who is beyond our experimental measurements. All of us, including Shiva, Manu, and Narada, must carry out his order. Because, see, ultimately, all this jnana, vairagya, tapas, whatever else you may enlist, everything is for what? For the pleasure of the Lord. So indirectly, Brahma is showing to Priyavrata that although you may be engaged in the highest pursuit for yourself, correct? But he said, you have another job to do because that also is Supreme Lord's business. So you understand how these great personalities are placed in positions of these great responsibilities. This is a great lesson we have to learn. That how they stayed in the self-realized platform while undertaking the greatest of responsibilities. Very willingly. So that is one take home that we can. Na tasya kaschit tapasa vidyaya va, na yoga viryena manishaya va, na ivartha dharmai paratasvato va, kritham vihantum tanubhrut vibhuyat. So Brahma is saying, not by power of austerities, education, mystic yoga, physical prowess, intelligence, wealth, religion, by himself or with the help of others can one avoid the order of the Supreme Lord. So ultimately, everybody is subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Even our endeavor for self-realization should be from the point of view of being a subordinate of the Supreme Lord. Under the Lord's order, the jivas accept bodies to perform actions for birth and death, for lamentation, illusion, fear, happiness, and distress. All of us must obey his orders in the form of varnashrama according to our qualities and work, just as a bull is obliged to move according to the direction of a driver pulling the ropes noted to its nose. So Brahma is comparing all of us to bulls, who have this string on the nose, and wherever the owner is pulling, in that direction only the bull can move, although the bull is a very powerful animal. Accept with faith whatever the Lord gives us. Happiness is or distress in accordance with our actions in different modes, like a blind man led by a man with sight. It's another example. And then Narada Muni continues. He says, even a liberated person accepts the body he has received according to past karma. However, he considers its resultant enjoyment and suffering the way an awakened person regards a dream and thus never works to achieve another material body. So, even a Muktatma, when he accepts the body, he is not lamenting about the fact that I have got this body. He is not lamenting. At the same time, he is not enjoying that body also. He is not enjoying that body, and therefore, he will never work in such a way that I want another body. And then Brahma also continues to say, even if a self-controlled person accepts household life, he can remain unharmed even in household. So Brahma here is making it very clear that the key is self-control, sense control. Self-control means sense control. Why? Because the self can uplift or degrade oneself because of the senses. So self-control means sense control. If you are able to control your senses, then you are able to control yourself. Very simple. And Brahma says, if you are in that position, whatever asrama you are put in, you are safe. And if that is not there, whatever asrama we are in, we are not safe. Simple. We may change the color of the dress, like today I have, so you may think that I am in the renounced order. No, it is simply one color change, that's all. Like the chameleon changing color, but it will not give up its nature, intrinsic nature. No. Similarly, the person who is not self-controlled, person who has got no control over the senses, he may change the external appearance many times. But what is the use? It will always be ultimately useless for himself and for others. But here Brahma says, you are a self-realized person. So you accept, also nothing is going to happen to you. So that way Brahma is encouraging him. And he says, one who is situated in household life and conquers his six senses is like a king in his fortress who conquers his powerful enemies. After his lusty desires have decreased, he can move anywhere without danger. And then he says, also gives him the way to do that. He says, seek shelter of the Lord's lotus feet and thus conquer the six senses. Accept material enjoyment following his order. Later, give up household life. Worship the Lord in your constitutional position. So, like this, Brahma is giving instruction to Priyavrata, saying that this is the way to do it. Simply accept the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. That way, by accepting that shelter, you will be able to control your six senses. Thus instructed Priyavrata, lowering his head while thinking himself inferior, accepted and respectfully carried out the order of Brahma, the Guru of three worlds. Brahma was then worshipped by Manu. Priyavrata and Narada also looked upon Brahma with no tinges of resentment. Both Narada and Priyavrata did not feel any resentment towards the order given by Brahma. Why is it said that here? Because they could easily have felt some resentment. Why? Because on Narada's instruction only, Priyavrata is undergoing this all austerity and bhakti. So Narada could have felt some resentment. Here I am trying to guide somebody, and here is my father coming and putting a block. But Narada is used to it because he has seen, he tries with each and every son of Brahma, to take them away from material life. But Brahma has this world to run. So Narada is also his son. But Narada is running a different company where Brahma has another more complicated, bigger company to run. Narada's company is very small. Why? Because hardly anybody will take up bhakti. Whereas Brahma is running this multinational corporation. So he has more complication. He needs more people. So when he takes away very key people into the other small company, then sometimes Brahma has to directly get himself involved to bring him back, Hey, I need this here, After he retires, then you can take him there. It's like that. So because Brahma is their ultimate guru, so they are accepting the order of Brahma. Now, the rest of the chapter, Srideva Goswami answers how Priyavrata enjoyed household life. Priyavrata fully engaged in worldly affairs by the order of the Lord, yet he always thought of the Lord's lotus feet, which are the cause of liberation. Although he was completely freed from all material contamination, he ruled the material world just to honor the orders of his superiors. See, that is why Acharyas are saying, pure devotee of the Lord, whatever he has to take up on behalf of the Lord, he will do it. Because he is fully surrendered to the Lord, so he has no fear of falling down. Thus, Priyavrata married Barhishmati, the daughter of Vishwakarma, and he had 10 sons. Agnidra, Idamajjihva, Yajnabahu, Hiranyareta, Kritaprishtha, Medhaditi, Vitihotra. That is 7 sons. Then another 3 sons, Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana, who were brahmacharis and entered Paramahamsa Ashraya. And 1 daughter he had, that is Urjaswati. And she married Shukracharya, and they had this daughter Devayani. So that is another historical link will come. Then Priyavrata had a second wife, from whom he had 3 sons, Uttama, Tamasa, and Raivata. They are the Manus of the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th Manvantaras. So that is in very concise form how Priyavrata created progeny so that the rule will continue. Priyavrata ruled the universe for 11 Arbuda and conquered his enemies by the mere sound of his bow drawn by 2 strong arms. He greatly loved his wife, Barhishmati. By her feminine behavior of dressing, walking, smiling, glancing, she increased his joy. Thus he appeared lost in feminine contact of wife, but actually he was a great soul. So don't always think that somebody who is smiling at the wife is completely attached to the material world. There are great personalities like Maharaja Priyavrata, who may be externally doing that, but internally they are always surrendered to the Supreme Lord. Priyavrata once became dissatisfied with the movements of the sun around Sumeru as he lit up half the surface of the earth while the other half remained dark. Priyavrata followed the orbit of sun on a brilliant chariot and thus fulfilled his desire of making night into day. He could perform such wonderful activities by the dint of his worship to the Lord. The impressions of Priyavrata's chariot wheels created 7 islands and 7 oceans on Bhumandala. He gave these islands to his sons to rule. So that is how that, what you call, he created, and that is what we are going to discuss in the rest of this canto. And then to Parikshit, because he may have this doubt as to how Priyavrata can do all these things, Sukadeva Goswami is explaining to Parikshit, Naivam Vida Purushakara Urukramasya Pumsam Tadangri Rajasa Jita Sadgunanam Chitram Vidura Vigada Sagradada Dita Yennamadheya Madhuna Sajahati Bandham. A devotee who has taken shelter of the dust of the Lord's lotus feet can transcend the influence of the 6 material whips, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death, and can conquer the mind and the 5 senses. However, this is not surprising for a devotee because even an untouchable is immediately relieved of bondage of material existence by uttering the Lord's holy name even once. Sridhar Goswami, this is a very important shloka. That a devotee can very easily transcend all these things. And for a devotee, this is not at all surprising because even a mlecha, even a very low-born person can immediately become mukta by chanting the Lord's holy name once. So what about a devotee who is always remembering and chanting the holy name of the Lord? He can do all these wonderful things, is what Sukadeva Goswami is explaining. Priyavrata once began to consider that although he had fully surrendered to the great saint Narada, he had somehow become entangled in material activities. Thus, he criticizes himself. I have fallen into material enjoyment, which is like a blind well. Enough, no more enjoyment. I am like a dancing monkey in the hands of my wife. Although he is self-controlled, he is considering himself Vanitaya Vinoda Mrgap. Very wonderful. This is self-realized person. He has realized. See, now I got married. Now I have become Vanitaya Vinoda Mrgap. I think everybody understands. 3 words. Everybody who knows Malayalam, they will understand very easily. Vanitaya Vinoda Mrgam. That means you are a Mrgam for the Vinoda of a Vanita. So actually, this is the status of all married men. Simply a Mrgam, a monkey, dancing monkey in the hands of a woman. So Priyavrata says, where was I in Gandhamadana Parvata? I was doing austerity, sitting very peacefully, where even Brahma took appointment and came and saw me. And now what have I become? From that position, I have now become a dancing monkey in the hands of my wife. So this is again Lord's mercy working on Priyavrata, that he once again remembers now enough is enough, because he has, he has created the progeny, everything is done. So now he is reawakening. And he divided the earth among his obedient sons. He renounced his wife and kingdom as if they were a dead body, fully detached. His heart became a place of pastimes for the Lord, and he resumed the path of spiritual life given by Narada. So this is the greatness of personality, a Mahatma like Narada, that once he has shown the path. So even though he had to perform some duties, and as I said previously, he had to pause, not stop. He had temporarily paused his activities in order to complete these things. Again, Priyavrata has taken back his spiritual journey. And then Shukadeva Goswami is praising Priyavrata, saying that no one but the Supreme Lord could do what Priyavrata has done. And what has he done? He has dissipated the darkness of night, excavated the 7 oceans with the rims of his chariot, marked boundaries with rivers, mountains, and forests to stop trespassing and quarreling among different nations, considered the results of karma and yoga as hellish, whether in lower regions, heaven, or human society. This is because he is a great follower of Narada Muni. Thus ends the first chapter of the fifth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Granjaraj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.